Daytime TV loudmouth Joy Behar claiming South Carolina Republican Senator Tim Scott, a black man, doesn't know how it feels to be black in America. Watch.
He's like Clarence Thomas, black Republican who believes in pulling yourself by your bootstraps, rather than, to me, understanding the systemic racism that African Americans face in this country and other minorities. He doesn't get it, neither does Clarence.
Right.
And that's why they're Republicans.
Senator Scott wasting no time clapping back, tweeting, quote, "When a black conservative who believes in the future of this nation stands up to be counted, they lose their minds. That's why I'm the candidate the radical left fears the most." It's no surprise Behar said what she said. After all, ladies on The View love to spew hot air. Anyone remember Fartgate? Huh? I'm looking at you, Whoopee Cushion. Why would Joyless Joy think this was a good idea? The party panel is back. Gary Hoffman, Richard Fowler, and Spike Cohen. So, Spike, when you want to take the temperature of black America in this country, who do you look to?
Yeah, when I want to find out what black Americans think about racial issues, I always turn to elderly white women who are on daytime TV. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I have always found it disgusting that if a black person dares to be a libertarian or a conservative, then they're a sellout. They don't understand racism. And frankly, I've also come to realize that, if a black person chooses to be a progressive, then they're, staying on the plantation. I realize that, we treat black people when it comes to politics like there's some kind of monolithic block.
Yes.
That whether we are conservative or progressive or libertarian or whatever, we want them, all 30+ million black people, to join our side instead of doing what we should be doing, which is looking at black people the same way we should look at everyone else, as individuals, all of whom come to things from a different perspective and have different ways of thinking about things. And whatever I agree or disagree with Tim Scott on, I'm certainly not going to say that he ain't black if he doesn't support me. And I think we need to stop that. We need to let everyone make decisions for themselves.
Yeah, what's wrong with that, Richard? What's wrong with allowing someone to come to their own individual conclusions about politics and life and family?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I tend to agree with what the panelists just said there. I think it's about letting folks come to their own conclusions. I think it's also really important that we take the time out to understand our history as the American country, the country's history, and the role we played in making it very hard for African Americans. It's not lost on me that Tim Scott is the only African American to serve both in the House and the Senate of the United States in 2023. We're a country that's been around for almost 250 some odd years, and there's only one black man, and black person rather, that has that delineation, which tells you there's a lot more work we have to do as a country. Sure,
but shoving people into boxes with racial stereotypes, I don't think is the way to achieve that. Gary?
Yeah, listen, I think that Joy Behar displayed what I think is probably the most egregious white privilege of all, which is defining for other people what racism is. Even though you may never have experienced it yourself, you live looking like Ronald McDonald in a house in the Hamptons and get to say something ridiculous like this, and no one on that set called her out. No one. I mean, Whoopi sat there on her fart locker and did nothing about it when she had every opportunity to push back and say, Joy, sit this one out. You have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. Maybe drop a dime, get the senator on the phone, have a conversation with him, and ask him about the times that he has experienced hardship in his life. Like when he was 7 years old and his father went out on him, when he had to grow up and pull his bootstraps, whatever term that means. I don't know why you pull them and not pull them up. But why it is that he was able to start a business, to be a successful businessman, to be elected to these different positions. As Richard points out, the first black person in America to serve in both the House and the Senate. Those are incredible accomplishments that I would imagine that Joy Behar would want to tip her hat to if she could get a hat on that nasty orange wig.
Well said. Very eloquent.